I really think that life is more like that little piece of everything's not perfect.
If you have to have things perfect in order to be joyful, you're never going to be joyful.
Few stories shake faith and leadership like the trials faced by Rick Warren. How does a man who guided millions through purpose confront a crisis?
Sometimes the people who claim to be the most tolerant, this is the thing, the problem is that people are pushing for approval. They don't want just acceptance.
That weakens his own strength? At the height of influence, he was forced into silence by an unseen struggle within his own body.
I focus on my own changes. I don't focus on changing you. That's not the goal of my group.
This isn't just about illness or loss. It's about resilience under pressure. Behind the headlines lies a deeper story.
I never intended purpose-driven life to be read by unbelievers. It's a spiritual growth emphasis that we've done every year for 30 years.
One that reveals how suffering can reshape a life built on guiding others, turning pain into a powerful testament of endurance and faith. The unseen struggle emerges. For more than 4 decades, Rick Warren stood firmly as a beacon of hope and spiritual guidance for millions around the world. Yet beneath the surface of his powerful ministry and best-selling books,
I didn't actually write it as a book. I wrote it as the workbook for our 40 days of purpose.
An invisible battle quietly took hold of his life. His health began to deteriorate in ways that threatened not only his well-being, but the very future of the church he built from the ground up. It was a struggle that few expected, touching a man who had dedicated his life to strengthening others. The first signs were subtle, uncontrollable muscle spasms that crept in and made daily life unpredictable and painful. These spasms, triggered by adrenaline, caused intense discomfort and exhaustion, making preaching and leading nearly impossible. Soon, doctors uncovered a rare neurological disorder known as spinalis that explained these relentless tremors. Yet that diagnosis was only the beginning of a cascade of afflictions that turned Rick Warren's world upside down. Alongside this condition, a mysterious brain disorder emerged, impairing his body's ability to process adrenaline properly. This left him disoriented, trembling, and in constant pain, fundamentally altering how his body responded to stress. On top of that, an autoimmune disease struck, causing chronic inflammation and muscle pain that persisted around the clock. The combined weight of these illnesses drew a dark curtain over his once boundless energy and focus. For someone whose life and work depended on endurance and clarity, these health challenges were devastating. The man who tirelessly carried others through their pain now found himself weakened and vulnerable. Rumors swirled, whispers of a downfall. But Rick Warren faced this storm with an honesty few could muster. The fight was intensely personal, shrouded in physical agony and emotional upheaval. His spirit remained unbroken despite the pain he experienced. He described how his unreleased feelings resulted in physical harm to his body, which showed the strong link between mental health and physical health. He had to face his maximum capabilities after both treatments and rest periods made his physical condition worse. The ministry, which had been his life's mission, now required him to meet demands that he found difficult to fulfill. Rick Warren made the heartbreaking choice to resign from his position as senior pastor at Saddleback Church, which he had led for more than 40 years, by June 2021. The decision shocked his congregation because it attracted attention from the entire religious community. The man who had so profoundly shaped Christian thought was handing over leadership, signaling not an end, but a painful new chapter. He became the founding pastor and dedicated himself to mentoring and global outreach work, but his health problems completely changed his life path. The silent resignation that took place behind closed doors became a crucial moment that would demonstrate the real extent of his perseverance and faith. The complete account of his fight, which affected him directly, and those who cared about him and his followers, remained untold. Rick Warren's health crisis created an important turning point because it showed his private battle with health issues. The shadow that fell across his existence helped us understand both his capacity to endure and his vulnerable human side, which existed behind his international recognition. As we look back to where it all began, the roots of Rick Warren's faith offer insight into the values and vision that shaped the extraordinary life, suddenly facing new trials. Roots of faith and vision. Rick Warren's story did not start in the bright spotlight, but rather in a small town nestled among California vineyards, far from the mega-church stages he would one day command. Born Richard Dwayne Warren in San Jose, he was raised in Ukiah, a quiet community that shaped his early understanding of faith and service. His father, Jimmy Warren, was a humble Baptist minister and carpenter, building churches in small towns, literal and spiritual foundations for communities in need. Faith was woven into the fabric of Rick's childhood. His mother, Dot, a librarian, nurtured his love for books and curiosity about the world, complementing the spiritual lessons learned from his father's ministry and craftsmanship. The Warrens lived faith not as a ritual, but as a daily practice, a conviction that shaped Rick from an early age. Watching his father travel and work tirelessly left a profound impression, a blend of humility, perseverance, and devotion. A defining moment came one evening when young Rick overheard his father praying with tears, asking God to allow him to build one more church before he died. This simple prayer echoed in Rick's mind for decades, planting a seed of purpose and vision that would come to define his life. In school, Rick was not the loudest or most popular, but he already had clarity of direction. He devoured theology books and led Bible studies, quietly setting the stage for his calling. By his senior year, Rick's leadership was undeniable. He established the Fishers of Men Club as the first Christian gathering at his public high school. It was a bold move during a time of cultural upheaval, signaling that he would not blend into the background, but stand out with conviction. This early activism illustrated his unyielding desire to reach those outside traditional religious walls, a theme that would recur throughout his ministry. He developed his educational dedication to California Baptist University after finishing high school, yet his major life-changing experience happened when he traveled to hear W.A. Criswell's sermon. Rick saw the unexpected prayer that Criswell delivered to him as a divine message that he would create a significant impact for God throughout his life. The combination of his early life experiences established his dedication to creating fresh projects that would diverge from established methods. His educational programs at both Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary and Fuller Theological Seminary succeeded in developing his religious understanding. But his goal remained beyond showing his academic credentials. He wanted to create a religious space that would serve both believers and people whom the established faith system had rejected. He made his most daring choice when he abandoned everything he knew to begin a new life. In 1980, Rick Warren relocated to Orange County together with his wife Kay. Yet they began their new life without any church building or membership base, depending only on their religious beliefs. The church began through this faith-based decision, which created a movement that served the religious needs of numerous people. Their entire existence began from their basic beginnings, which created the base for their entire system. The faith that began in a small town would spread throughout the world to create new churches and ministry methods that would transform numerous lives. The initial steps of this journey created a path that eventually developed into a large-scale movement that exceeded a basic assembly in a high school theater. The foundation of faith and purpose fueled the next chapter, where a small group of believers transformed into the powerhouse that became Saddleback Church, building a movement from nothing. On Easter Sunday, April 6, 1980, he and Kay Warren held their first service in a borrowed high school theater. There was no building, no established following, just a clear message. 205 people showed up, many attending church for the first time. His sermon, A Daring Faith, set the tone for something different, simple, direct, and grounded in real life. From that moment, Saddleback Church began to grow, not through tradition or spectacle, but through connection. Rick's conversational style made faith feel practical, addressing everyday struggles like relationships, purpose, and pain. People weren't drawn to ritual. They were drawn to relevance. The early years were anything but stable. Without a permanent home, the church moved constantly, meeting in school gyms, community centers, and even tents. Volunteers set up and packed down everything each week, earning the nickname, "A Church with Wheels." It was exhausting, but it built a strong sense of commitment and shared purpose. The lack of a building didn't weaken the church. It strengthened its identity. Through the 1980s, that vision began to take hold. The church expanded quickly across Southern California, attracting people searching for meaning rather than tradition. Rick's focus was clear: reach those who felt disconnected, not just those already inside the system. That approach turned a small gathering into one of the fastest-growing congregations in the region. By 1993, after years of constant movement, Saddleback opened its first permanent worship center in Lake Forest. It marked more than growth. It proved that persistence and vision could outlast uncertainty. Attendance had climbed past 10,000 weekly, reflecting the power of a message people could relate to. Rick later captured that vision in his 1995 book, The Purpose-Driven Church, outlining a framework built on worship, fellowship, discipleship, ministry, and mission. It gave leaders a clear path to build communities with depth and structure. But his global impact truly surged with The Purpose-Driven Life. In 2002, written for everyday people, it reached millions searching for meaning, becoming one of the most influential books of its kind. From a rented theater to a worldwide movement, Rick Warren built something that resonated far beyond its origins. His focus on purpose and connection shaped a generation. Yet behind the rapid growth, the weight of leadership quietly grew as well. Pressures that would eventually test both his strength and his faith. This rising wave of impact would soon meet a personal and profound storm, testing the very foundations of Rick Warren's faith and mission. The global influence of purpose. Rick Warren's impact extended far beyond the Sunday services at Saddleback Church, reaching millions through his writings and ministries worldwide. His 1995 book, The Purpose-Driven Church, introduced a new model for church health and growth, focusing on 5 biblical purposes: worship, fellowship, discipleship, ministry, and mission. This practical framework became an essential tool for pastors striving to build vibrant, purpose-filled congregations. Within a few years, it had inspired and trained over 200,000 church leaders around the globe. Yet it was The Purpose-Driven Life, published in 2002.
Well, 3 things happened. First, the audience has changed. A girl who was 12 years old when that book came out is now 22.
That transformed Rick Warren into a household name far beyond religious circles. Written as a 40-day spiritual journey for everyday people wrestling with life's meaning, the book's simple yet profound message resonated deeply. It sold over 1 million copies within its first few months, and by 2020, its sales topped 50 million copies in 85 languages. The reach of The Purpose-Driven Life stretched into unexpected areas, touching celebrities, politicians, and athletes. Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps credited the book with providing perspective during his rehabilitation, while others publicly acknowledged its life-changing influence. Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama both referenced its teachings in speeches, highlighting its wide cultural penetration. The book's message about finding purpose transcended denominational and national boundaries. The combination of his rising popularity and his professional achievements did not lead Rick Warren to change his fundamental beliefs about life. He donated 90% of his earnings to charity, and he terminated his church employment, which paid him $110,000 annually, while he returned all his earnings from the last 25 years. His platform to achieve personal success through reverse tithing showed his commitment. He and Kay, his wife, maintained their simple lifestyle by residing in their longtime home, which they acquired years ago, while they established trust through their low-cost living and honest behavior. Saddleback Church developed into an international church network that expanded its operations beyond its original base in California. The church operated multiple campuses, which served more than 20,000 worshippers during each week at its peak in the mid-2000s. The church established satellite locations that extended from Berlin to Buenos Aires, while its online services reached millions of viewers. Rick Warren used his global presence to increase his power, which enabled his vision to expand at an increasing rate. Rick used his ability to connect people from different faiths, cultural backgrounds, and political beliefs to create lasting relationships throughout his career. His genuine personality, together with his dedication to acquiring useful knowledge, established him as an uncommon type of moral power. The new job responsibilities brought him extra stress to handle. The leadership duties that he faced at work required constant effort, which eventually broke his physical strength and mental stability while creating future difficulties. This loss would upend his personal life and mission, revealing the profound humanity beneath the global pulpit and calling him to transform grief into hope. The family tragedy and its aftermath. The deepest turning point in the life of Rick Warren and Kay Warren came through a tragedy no amount of faith or preparation could prevent. For years, their marriage had endured hardship, financial strain, emotional wounds, and the weight of past trauma, strengthened through counseling and shared belief. They thought they had already faced their hardest battles. They hadn't. On April 5, 2013, their youngest son, Matthew, passed away at the age of 27 after a long struggle with mental illness.
I watched my son very courageously try to deal with this for many, many years, 27 years. And the fact that he made it that long, he was suicidal even at an early age.
From childhood, he faced deep depression and internal battles that no treatment fully eased. Despite years of medical care, therapy, and spiritual support, the darkness never completely lifted. His loss didn't just break a family. It sent shockwaves through the global community that looked to Rick Warren for guidance and hope. Rick later described the grief as beyond words. In his address to the congregation, he described Matthew as a person who showed both kindness and deep empathy while he experienced his silent battles. The situation developed through the combination of empathy, which led to negative evaluations of others. Some questioned how a man of faith could face such a loss. Rick responded to the situation without showing any signs of anger. Rick explained the situation by telling the truth that many people wanted to know why God had not healed his son. He returned to the pulpit after several months to present a message that resulted from his suffering. The presentation showed unrefined raw material that came from authentic human experiences. The alteration from the previous situation established a new path that both he and Kay would follow. The couple turned their grieving process into meaningful activities by establishing the Hope for Mental Health program. The organization needed to create a safe environment where individuals could find support while they dealt with their personal battles. Kay became a leading voice for compassion-centered care, working alongside medical professionals and faith leaders to challenge stigma. Their message reached thousands, many of whom had never spoken openly about their struggles before. Rick would later explain that faith, together with mental illness, exists as two different aspects that people can hold simultaneously. The battle between their advocacy work and another concealed conflict became more intense. Rick experienced a decline in his health, which forced him to acknowledge his new medical limitations. The man who had supported others throughout his entire life now entered a silent battle that would bring about his toughest life challenge. From this crucible of loss and suffering, a deeper understanding of faith and purpose would emerge, one that continues to inspire millions around the world. Redemption through faith and legacy. The final chapters of Rick Warren's life journey reveal his path to redemption. He started his new role after retiring from his position as senior pastor at Saddleback Church in 2021 to become a founding member who would train leaders while building international programs and sharing his lifetime ministry experiences. Although he does not deliver sermons every week anymore, people still respect his words because he has accomplished much and experienced profound personal grief. His influence continues through global efforts like the Finishing the Task Coalition, which works to advance church expansion and leadership development in every part of the world. The small initial gathering developed into a widespread movement that now reaches tens of thousands of people every week, because his purpose-driven message directs communities that extend beyond his single preaching location. He helped construct the Mental Health Ministry of Hope for Mental Health together with Kay Warren, which originated from a tragic event that transformed how churches handle mental health issues. The organization developed through its first disclosed dialogues, which allowed families to access help by combining their faith with professional treatment and caring support services. He continues to fight through his ongoing health difficulties. His neurological condition and autoimmune disease have forced him to reduce his activities, which now define his everyday existence. His willingness to talk about his pain has made his message more relatable to people who experience their own internal battles. He often reminds others that no one is without flaws, and everyone needs grace. His current speech includes fewer victories because it reveals his authentic life experiences. He knows that faith helps people endure their suffering because it provides them with the power to navigate their challenges. The current situation requires his message to be more urgent because he has constructed a solid foundation for his content. Rick Warren's life demonstrates that people can maintain their faith through trials that will test their beliefs. His legacy, from establishing an international church network to assisting people with their mental health challenges, serves as a reminder that people discover their life purpose through difficult experiences. Rick Warren's journey shows us that faith does not shield us from hardship. It strengthens us to face it with hope and resilience. His legacy reminds us that purpose is often shaped in seasons of struggle and refined through service to others. If this story spoke to you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe for more meaningful stories that matter. And when you're ready, tap into the next story waiting on your screen. You might find a message there you didn't even know you needed.